Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from What Culture. I've been dragged into the studio today by Zoe. I've not even had time to read any comics yet. This is ridiculous. Powers of 10 number 3 comes out later on, but you've got some news right now that they literally dragged me by the collar in here, yelled at me, being like, Ewan, you were gone for a week, you've missed stuff. And honestly, I'm a bit confused, so do you want to explain what's been going on with Batman?
Well, I thought I should tell you at the same time I tell the lovely folks at home. Because there's been some news, and I think you might have a reaction to it. You sat down, it's fine, you're calm, calm, you've had a nice brew, everything's okay. So, Batman 77 came out today. You know, it was really good. The Sea of Bane storyline's been really fun, really engaging. We've seen Damian, we've seen Bane. We saw Alfred die.
What?
I just thought it was easy to tell you here.
Alfred's dead?
I thought you were less likely to cry.
Dan, if you don't find an image for this, that's totally fine. Like, I imagine the image is now coming across the screen and just flashing repeatedly, but that's big.
It's pretty big, and the most frightening part is it does look like it might be permanent. Which, I mean, I wasn't expecting it.
Do you want to explain what's actually happened in the build-up to this issue then? Because I've not been keeping up with Batman. I've kind of been dipping in and out here and there. I was a little bit bummed after the wedding happened, and then I was like, I thought I'd basically trade wait and then wait for it to read in that full thing. But yeah, Alfred dying, where has this come from?
So essentially, anyone who's not been keeping up, Bane and Thomas Wayne, who is, you know, a sort of Flashpoint evil Batman, well, Batman's dad, as we all know. They've been ruling Gotham for a while, and this has resulted in some unusual storylines, which includes Alfred essentially being kidnapped in his own home. We see Damian come in, he's doing good, he defeats Gotham Girl, which is...
That's, considering Gotham Girl just beat Captain Atom, that's a pretty big deal.
I mean, he does it through shenanigans, but still, good points. Damian then gets, you know, taken out by Thomas Wayne, kidnapped, and gets to see probably one of the people he loves most in his life die. So I'm sure that won't traumatize him at all.
So why has Bane killed Alfred? Is there a reason why this has happened? I mean, I know Bane's Bane and Bane's gonna Bane, and you know that's his entire thing.
Bane do Bane.
But is there a reason why? Because last I heard, Batman was in the desert with Thomas, and he was looking for the Lazarus Pit, and now he's back waiting to get to Europe. Is there a reason why Alfred was left behind in this whole shenanigans?
Essentially, I have two pet theories as to why he killed Alfred. One is, I mean, pun intended, to flex. Just because I think Batman obviously doesn't know yet because he's not back in Gotham. So the moment he comes back, he's going to have to deal with the fact that not only is, you know, like, has chaos taken over his city, but also, you know, his dad, for all intents and purposes, another dad has died. So there's also that. But then my pet theory is Thomas has really wanted to convince Batman to use the Lazarus Pits. Essentially, their fight is that Bruce doesn't want to use the Lazarus Pits. He wants, when people die, when his parents die, that he can accept it and overcome this loss. But obviously, he might not do that for Alfred, because Alfred was filling that void. Yes.
This is interesting to me because on one hand, I'm like, okay, you've done it. You've broken my heart into several tiny pieces, and they're probably just melting on the floor right now, just simmering away like some sort of overdone fried egg. I'm of the personal opinion now if this is actually a proper death, and knowing comics it probably isn't, but if it is a proper death, I want it to stay. I love Alfred. Alfred's one of my favorite characters in DC Comics. Even just outside of Batman stuff, he's such a great figure, such like a sardonic figure. A great warm character who can clap back at Batman when is necessary and has basically raised him as his own son. It's kind of like a similar thing to Aunt May for me on this one. Again, I really like Aunt May, but there comes a point in time where people do die, and it makes sense for, you know, people of Aunt May and Alfred's age to occasionally, you know, pass on, and ignoring all the prospective Lazarus Pits and deals with the devils that we could make to bring back our loved ones. I think it would make much more sense if this were to be an actual thing. Even though it would completely ruin me, I would much prefer it if DC were to say, no, this is the actual death, we're going through with this, even though it is kind of out of left field, I want to say. Because the past few issues haven't been about this at all. They've kind of been little different distractions with, we had an issue focusing on the villains in Gotham, didn't we? Where we had, you know, basically a reverse Batman and Robin with Thomas Wayne Batman and Gotham Girl. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on it as a whole? Do you like it? Do you want it to stay? Or is this kind of more, you know, malarkey?
Well, the thing about Thomas King's run on Batman is a lot of it's about grief. and of overcoming grief, of how people deal with it in different ways. And I think the growth we've seen from Batman, it would make sense in a practical element of, I really don't want Alfred to die. But in terms of him being a person in his own right and sort of accepting the bad things that happen to him and not becoming a bad person because of these, like, it makes almost too much sense to have this be the one where Alfred, like, actually goes out. And I think it'd be a really interesting way to see the character grow, because if there's one thing we can criticize a lot of Batman stuff for, it's like, and then Batman goes back to normal.
Yes.
I think this would be really an interesting way to be like, actually no, you're gonna cry for a week.
Comics love using the reset button. I've actually got a video coming out in probably either this week or next week on basically how comics keep on getting obsessed with the status quo and how it's a really terrible thing. And sometimes they can use death to shake that up, but invariably, a resurrection or a contrived return is always, never too far away. I wonder if this, obviously, DC have now announced that King isn't going to stay on Batman. I do wonder if this is partially the reason why they're a little bit angsty over his involvement with the character, because unlike previous writers, even though you could argue that, the wedding was a big giant cop-out and that kind of reset everything that he was doing, there's still an ultimate end goal there. He's never been one to basically let Batman sit on his laurels and just stay as like this, this stationary Dark Knight who hates his allies, is very broody. There's actual consequence to his actions, and I've always felt that the series has a long-term plan to actually take Batman and leave him in a different place to where King found him. And obviously we're going to see that come through in the Batman Catwoman comic, which comes out next year. That would also make sense. If Alfred is dead, Bruce is going to have to effectively start a new family, or basically continue his family in his own way, and maybe him and Catwoman, realizing that they can have a future together is what brings them that. But again, Alfred dying is such a huge event, and even though it could be, a fake out, and you've got some theories that basically there might be evidence in the comic that suggests that it is.
So, a series of people online, myself included, really don't want Alfred to be dead.
You are very online.
I try my best to be the most online. Have a series of theories. A lot of them do appear to be people desperately clawing at the walls, being like, don't let him be dead. But there's theories that, because in Alfred's final words, he says he's begging to his master, which obviously, usually he calls every member of the Bat family
Master Wayne.
Or Miss.
Yeah.
So this has also been interpreted as, because he's begging someone, and Damien's tied to a chair. You can't be like, please be untied to the chair. Whereas you can beg to Bane, if you're working for Bane, to be like, please don't kill me because you've dressed me like Alfred Pennyworth. Please don't do this weird, definitely traumatic experience. Which does make sense. But then also, as we said, I think it would have a lot more impact to not just be like, and then it wasn't Alfred the whole time.
Yeah, like if this was someone like Clayface, the actual panel is very visceral. You hear the bones cracking. I know Clayface kind of imitates people, but this might just be going off my Arkham logic here, where you go into detective mode and you just see that Clayface is a big old pile of goop. He's got no bones there. That would be an issue. And also, if he was someone who was impersonating Alfred, why would he remain in character if he's pleading for his life? It's really depressing. It's really, really sad. But at the same time, again, these things have to happen in comics. And maybe, this is why King is moving on to this other series, because DC see Alfred's death as being the big seismic, big lasting change that he's left on the character, and then he can continue to do the Catwoman stuff elsewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Is this a thing that you definitely want to see follow through? Because I'm kind of conflicted. On one hand, I'm very much like, yes, if you're actually doing this, even though I don't like it, I would like you to stay with it, because, like you mentioned earlier on, the thematic connotations of King's Run is all about dealing with grief and stuff. But at the same time, I'm also just kind of like, oh God, why? Please bring Alfred back.
It's a mixed one, isn't it? Because, obviously, comics are nothing without big events, but then also these events are going to break our hearts. And I think sometimes you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to read a fictional story that's going to make you cry in an office full of people you work with. And that's fine.
You can't foreshadow my emotional breakdown on camera, Zoe. But yeah, this is like a big seismic event, and we've already seen people snapping up copies of this comic for like $30 on eBay already. Like, the listing is literally like, might be an actual death, might not be. I don't know. Please buy my bagged and boarded $30 comic, you speculating asses. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just looking at it right now. I'm in shock. I'm going to go through the different stages of grief right now. I might go into denial as we approach the end of the day, and then maybe acceptance. But yeah, I want to know what you all think of Batman number 77 down in the comments below. Have DC done an absolute madness and killed Alfred, or do you think that he's actually not dead, or that he might be resurrected in the future? Please let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and head back on over to whatculture.com/comics. We'll have more kind of analysis on this as the week comes ahead. As always, I've been you, and you can follow me on Twitter at YouandRunesThings, and I've been joined by Zoe.
And if you want to cry more about Alfred, you can find me on Zimmerscale.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.